Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we're diving into another chilling case. Jealousy is a terrible, often destructive force that can blind a person and push them to commit heinous crimes. Such was the case with the tragedy that unfolded in Costa Rica a few years ago. Known in forensic history as the Gerardo Cruz case, it is a story marked by obsession and vengeance. Let's explore it step by step. Samody Fonsek was born in Costa Rica in February 1975. Little is known about her early family life, but she grew up in an area called Cuba, living with her mother, Sonia Fonsek. Even as a child, Samody displayed a difficult and conflicted character, often resorting to force or deception to get what she wanted. Her striking appearance and perfect figure made it easy for her to charm men, but her greed and vanity often drove them away. During her youth, thanks to her doll-like appearance, Samody worked for several years portraying Barbie in a large bookstore owned by Universal. This flattering nickname stuck with her for life. After finishing high school, she had a relationship with Osvaldo Fernando Ballery, a successful journalist who was 16 years her senior. This was her longest and most serious relationship, but Osvaldo never proposed. In 1996, they had a son named Christopher, followed by a daughter, Christina, a year later. However, due to constant jealousy-fueled arguments, Osvaldo left her in 2012. When he died suddenly at 53, Samody found herself excluded from his will. Refusing to accept this, she seized his house, changed the locks, and took valuable items, leading to a court battle with his family. Although the police forced her to leave the house, no criminal charges were filed against her. Samody had many other romantic entanglements, including one with Miguel Angel Perez, from whom she had a daughter named Maria. Some sources claim they were married and later divorced, while others say she was never married but gave her daughter Perez's surname without his consent. Intriguingly, several of Samody's lovers either disappeared or died under mysterious circumstances, but no concrete evidence ever linked her to these events. One of her lovers vanished shortly after breaking up with her, and despite suspicions, no proof of Samody's involvement was found. Another ex-lover, Diaco, was murdered in what appeared to be a failed robbery attempt, again with no evidence pointing to her. However, her most notorious victim was Gerardo Cruz. Gerardo was born in December 1992 in San Jose, Costa Rica. He never knew his biological father, who left before his birth. His mother, Ana Patricia, remarried Hermes Rodriguez, who adopted Gerardo and raised him alongside his younger sister, Milena. Gerardo's childhood was calm and carefree. He attended a local school, loved motorcycles, and met his true love, Carol, early on. At 23, Gerardo, Carol, and their 4-year-old daughter, Genesis, settled in the house of his aunt and uncle in San Sebastian. Gerardo worked at a bakery to support his family, and the couple was happy, expecting their second child. In the summer of 2015, Gerardo met Samody, who frequently visited the bakery where he worked. Despite the nearly 20-year age difference and his family, Gerardo was captivated by her beauty and began an affair. Samody, enjoying the attention of younger men, visited the bakery almost daily, often with her eldest daughter, Christina. Initially, Gerardo balanced his family life and secret meetings, but soon his indiscretions became known. He boasted about his affair, which reached his mother, who urged him to end it. The relationship ended in October 2015, when Samody discovered Gerardo's pregnant wife and daughter. Furious, she began harassing Carol and threatening Gerardo's life. Gerardo managed to reconcile with Carol and thought Samody would move on. He underestimated her vindictiveness. Shortly after their breakup, Gerardo witnessed a man filming under a girl's skirt. Outraged, he recorded the man and posted the video online, exposing the perpetrator as a former official, Luis Salmano Delgado. The video went viral, making Gerardo a national hero, but also attracting unwanted attention. Experienced lawyers hired by Delgado accused Gerardo of violating privacy laws, preparing to sue him. Gerardo, bewildered by this turn of events, continued to speak out against the official's actions. On October 7th, after his last interview, Gerardo received a message from Samody, tricking him into meeting her under the pretense of another interview. Trusting her, he went to the agreed location, where two men attacked him, stealing his belongings and stabbing him multiple times. Before losing consciousness, Gerardo managed to call his friend, who alerted the police and medics. Despite numerous surgeries, Gerardo succumbed to his injuries 42 days later, on November 19th. The tragic death of Gerardo Cruz shook Costa Rica to its core. As news of his condition spread, the entire nation followed his story closely, hoping for his recovery. His family, in their grief, gave frequent interviews, pleading for justice and asking the public to pray for him. At his funeral, a large crowd gathered to express their condolences and support his family, all hoping the perpetrators would be brought to justice. Initially, the police had two primary theories. The first was that Gerardo's murder was a robbery gone wrong. He had been attacked in a park at night, his bag stolen, and he had been stabbed multiple times. However, the second theory quickly gained traction. A revenge killing orchestrated by someone threatened by Gerardo's recent exposure of the former official, Luis Salmano Delgado. The public and the media speculated openly about Delgado's possible involvement, given his powerful connections and the scandal that Gerardo had brought to light. The investigation faced several challenges. For months, there were no significant leads, and the case seemed to be at a standstill. The police continued to consider various suspects and motives, meticulously searching for any evidence that could lead to a breakthrough. In May 2016, a critical piece of evidence emerged. A surveillance camera captured footage of two men fleeing the scene of Gerardo's attack. This video quickly became a focal point of the investigation. The footage was repeatedly aired on news programs, with authorities urging the public to help identify the suspects. The police were also able to create composite sketches based on the video, providing detailed descriptions of the men. The case finally gained momentum when one of the men, hoping for a lighter sentence, decided to surrender and cooperate with the authorities. His testimony led to the identification and arrest of several other accomplices, as well as the crime's mastermind, Samody Fonsec. Samody and her daughter Cristina were taken into custody, along with several men implicated in the plot. Among them were Ronald Archie, a cab driver who found the hitmen, Cesar Chavez, who acted as an intermediary, and Omar Costa, who had been tracking Gerardo on the day of the attack. The investigation revealed the roles of each participant through phone records and text messages, meticulously piecing together the conspiracy. Samody, driven by jealousy and unable to accept Gerardo's rejection, had orchestrated the entire plan. She involved her daughter Cristina, who assisted in coordinating the attack. The plan was carefully laid out, with each participant assigned specific roles to ensure the crime appeared as a random robbery. On October 7th, Samody made numerous calls to her accomplices, ensuring everyone followed the plan. She even demanded a personal item of Gerardo's as proof of the crime's completion. That evening, Gerardo, believing he was meeting for an interview, headed to the park. There he was ambushed, beaten, and stabbed multiple times. His attackers took his bag and jacket, which were later presented to Samody as evidence. The critical evidence against Samody was found in the text messages detailing the murder plot, messages she had arrogantly failed to delete. The police quickly arrested all those involved. Samody and Cristina were denied bail, deemed flight risks due to the severity of their crimes. Ronald, Cesar, and Omar were also held in pretrial detention. A minor involved in the attack was placed under the care of juvenile authorities. The investigation lasted about a year and a half, and in December 2017 the trial began. During the trial, it was revealed that Samody had a criminal past, including previous arrests for document forgery to obtain state benefits. She had also fraudulently obtained child support from Miguel Angel Perez for their daughter Maria by falsely using his surname. These revelations painted a picture of a manipulative and deceitful woman capable of orchestrating such a heinous crime. Carol, Gerardo's wife, testified that she was aware of his affair with Samody and the threats she had made. Despite these threats, Gerardo had not taken them seriously, believing Samody would move on. The court heard how Samody's jealousy and wounded pride led her to plan the murder, involving her own daughter in the conspiracy. Phone records and text messages revealed that mother and daughter meticulously planned the crime. After the CCTV footage of the attackers was released, Christina had a nervous breakdown and almost confessed to the police, but Somodi calmed her down, confident they would not be caught. On January 23, 2018, the verdict was announced. Somodi was sentenced to 30 years in prison, while Christina, Ronald, and Caesar each received 25-year sentences. One of the attackers was sent to a juvenile detention center, and the other remained unidentified. Omar, who had tracked Gerardo, was acquitted due to lack of direct involvement in the attack. The court also ordered $140,000 in moral compensation to Gerardo's family. While the family was grateful for the justice served, they were still reeling from their loss. Shortly after, it was revealed that Somodi and Christina's lawyers planned to appeal the sentences, hoping for reductions. The new trial took place in November 2019, during which the identity of the second attacker was finally established. Ronald and Caesar also sought reduced sentences. The appeal resulted in a reduction of 5 years for each convicted individual. As of summer 2020, Somodi remains in a women's prison in Costa Rica. Interestingly, she married a fellow inmate, Lindsay Diaz-Lopez, who has since been released on parole. Somodi still faces many years behind bars, paying for the crime driven by her insidious jealousy. As the investigation and subsequent trial of Somodi Fonsec and her accomplices unfolded, more unsettling details came to light, further shocking the Costa Rican public. The meticulous work of the police and prosecutors ensured that every piece of evidence was presented, leading to the convictions that followed. During the investigation, authorities uncovered the full extent of Somodi's manipulative and deceitful nature. For years, she had used her beauty and charm to entrap men, only to exploit them for financial gain. The cases of her missing and murdered lovers began to draw new scrutiny. Although concrete evidence linking her to these crimes was still lacking, the patterns of her behavior painted a disturbing picture. The trial proceedings were heavily covered by the media, capturing the attention of the nation. Gerardo Cruz's family attended every session, determined to see justice served. The public's interest in the case was fueled by the revelations about Somodi's past and the cold, calculated manner in which she orchestrated the murder of Gerardo. The prosecution presented a compelling case, using the text messages between Somodi and her co-conspirators to establish the premeditated nature of the crime. The messages detailed how Somodi instructed each participant, including her daughter Christina, and followed up on every aspect of the plan to ensure its execution. The sheer audacity of these communications shocked everyone, showcasing Somodi's belief in her impunity. Christina's involvement was particularly tragic. A young woman, just stepping into adulthood, she was manipulated by her mother into participating in a heinous crime. The court heard how Christina had second thoughts after the release of the CCTV footage, but her mother's assurances and manipulations kept her from turning herself in. It was clear that Christina was deeply affected by her mother's influence, a factor the defense highlighted in an attempt to mitigate her sentence. Ronald Archie and Cesar Chavez, key facilitators in the crime, also faced the court. Ronald, the cab driver who helped find the hitmen, and Caesar, who acted as an intermediary, were both shown to have significant roles in the planning and execution of the murder. Their involvement extended beyond mere facilitation. They were actively engaged in ensuring that every detail of the plan was carried out, from the initial approach to the final attack. The minor involved in the attack, whose name was withheld due to his age, was a tragic figure as well. Drawn into the criminal world by the promise of easy money, he was used by the adults around him to commit an unspeakable act. His participation in the murder highlighted the extent to which vulnerable individuals can be exploited by those with malicious intent. Omar Costa's role as the lookout and tracker on the day of the murder was also scrutinized. Although he did not participate directly in the attack, his surveillance was crucial in ensuring that Gerardo was at the right place at the right time. Omar's acquittal, due to lack of direct involvement, was met with mixed reactions, with some feeling that he too should have faced harsher consequences. The prosecution's narrative was clear. Driven by jealousy and a desire for control, Somodi planned and executed the murder of Gerardo Cruz, involving her own daughter and several others in her deadly scheme. The defense tried to portray Samodi as a misunderstood woman, driven to extremes by a series of unfortunate events in her life. However, the overwhelming evidence against her left little room for doubt. Throughout the trial, Gerardo's family and the public were reminded of his bravery and selflessness. His actions in exposing the lecherous behavior of Luis Salmano Delgado had turned him into a national hero, and his untimely death only amplified the tragedy of losing such a courageous young man. His family's grief was palpable, and their quest for justice became a symbol of the broader fight against corruption and violence in Costa Rica. In the end, the court handed down its sentences, and although the appeals process reduced them slightly, justice was served. Cristina, Ronald, and Cesar also saw their sentences reduced but still faced significant time in prison. The minor was sent to a juvenile detention center, his future uncertain but his involvement in the crime undeniable. The aftermath of the case saw continued public interest, not just in the sensational details but in the broader implications for society. Discussions about the influence of jealousy, the manipulation of vulnerable individuals, and the importance of standing up against wrongdoing became prevalent in media and public discourse. Samodi's life behind bars took an unexpected turn when she married Lindsay Diaz Lopez, a fellow inmate who had been released on parole. This development added another layer of intrigue to her story, highlighting her ability to form relationships even in the most constrained circumstances. As Samodi continues to serve her sentence, the impact of her actions remains a haunting reminder of how destructive jealousy can be. Gerardo Cruz's legacy, however, endures. He is remembered not only for his bravery in exposing corruption but also as a symbol of the fight against injustice. His family, though forever scarred by his loss, found some solace in the knowledge that those responsible for his death were held accountable. As the dust settled on the court proceedings and the sentences were handed down, the country continued to grapple with the broader implications of the case of Samodi Fonseca. The shocking revelations and the intricate web of deceit, jealousy, and manipulation had captivated the public's attention, sparking discussions on morality, justice, and the darker aspects of human nature. In prison, Samodi Fonseca's life took on a new rhythm. Stripped of her freedom and influence, she was now just another inmate, albeit one with a notorious reputation. Her marriage to Lindsay Diaz Lopez, a fellow inmate, garnered attention, adding a new chapter to her tumultuous life. This relationship, formed within the harsh confines of prison, seemed to provide her with some semblance of stability. Lindsay's parole left Samodi more isolated, but she continued to navigate her sentence with the same determination that had marked her life outside. Meanwhile, Cristina Fonseca, who had been deeply affected by her mother's manipulations, faced her own challenges behind bars. The weight of her actions and the realization of how she had been used haunted her. Prison programs aimed at rehabilitation and counseling became crucial for her, as she sought to understand her own role in the crime and rebuild her life, albeit within the limitations of her sentence. The impact of the crime on Gerardo Cruz's family was profound. His mother, Ana Patricia, and his stepfather, Hermes Rodriguez, remained vocal about the need for continued vigilance against corruption and crime. They became advocates for justice, using their platform to speak out against the kind of violence that had taken their son's life. Their resilience and determination to honor Gerardo's memory resonated with many, providing a beacon of hope amid the tragedy. Gerardo's partner, Carol, faced the daunting task of raising their children alone. She channeled her grief into ensuring that their children, Genesis and the baby she was expecting at the time of Gerardo's death, would grow up knowing the kind of man their father was. Her strength in the face of adversity became a testament to the enduring human spirit. The legal aftermath of the case extended beyond the initial trial. The appeals process, which led to reduced sentences for Samodi and her accomplices, highlighted the complexities of the justice system. Public opinion was divided. While some felt that the reduced sentences were a miscarriage of justice, others believed that the law had been applied fairly, considering the circumstances and the involvement of each participant. Ronald Archie and Cesar Chavez, who had played significant roles in facilitating the murder, adjusted to their lengthy prison terms. Their involvement, driven by a mix of greed and coercion, had irrevocably altered their lives. The juvenile involved in the attack, having been placed in a detention center, faced a future marked by the possibility of rehabilitation. His young age and the hope that he could still be reformed became focal points in his continued incarceration. Omar Costa, acquitted due to lack of direct involvement in the murder, faced public scrutiny and the challenge of rebuilding his life. His role in tracking Gerardo and leading the attackers to him, while not criminally punished, left a stain on his reputation that would be hard to erase. In conclusion, the case of Simone Fonseca stands as a testament to the devastating consequences of jealousy and manipulation. The tragic death of Gerardo Cruz, a young man who stood up for what was right, serves as a reminder of the importance of courage and the enduring impact one person's actions can have on society. As we reflect on this case, let it inspire us to strive for a world where justice prevails, and the destructive power of jealousy is recognized and addressed before it can lead to such tragic outcomes. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you found this exploration of a true crime story as compelling as it is sobering. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that delve into the human condition and the pursuit of justice. See you next time.